So there's definitely something very interesting going on in regards to what you just mentioned with the time wave zero and potentially what could happen after 2012, you know?
Right, absolutely. And I mean, what's amazing about all this is how did our forefathers actually know so much about, or like even get to the point where, you know, these ancient sciences, they should be so obvious to us. You know, I was mentioning the I Ching, tarot, numerology, the Kabbalah, all these, you know, like astrology, a lot of these things, these are ancient forms of oracles, like ancient sciences that are still used today, and they're actually becoming more prevalent today.
Yeah.
You know, they're actually making more sense when it comes to the new sciences in a very scientific way, like a very scientific way. And these are things that, you know, for the longest time we've looked at as primitive, things that are outdated, things that now that we have new sciences, you know, that these are obsolete forms of technology. But it's, I mean, actually with the newer metaphysical science and the quantum sciences, we're finding that they have a lot more relevance. And, you know, and now we see that many ancient civilizations that were attempting to preserve the knowledge, they built massive temples, pyramids, ziggurats, and all other forms of structures that left clues and hints towards these things.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and these things, you know, they should be very, very understood. But, you know, it's another one of those things that it's quite amazing how even shamanism, what shamanism's been practiced for thousands of years, and it's a form of medicine, but the medicine is actually on a very psychological scale. And what I was actually just down in Peru studying shamanism just a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Towards the end of April, down in on the Amazon in Iquitos. And what I was studying was ayahuasca shamanism, which is a very popular form now. And why is ayahuasca becoming like so popular, and all these forms of shamanism becoming so popular? Because, you know, when you see people with the New Age movement, people are somehow like craving this type of information. And what it is like, I think it's been studied for thousands of years, and only within the past 15, 20 years has it really started reaching the mainstream,
right,
you know, understanding. And what these forms of shamanism really do, especially ayahuasca, it's actually considered a feminine, it has feminine energy in it. And it's a vine that is pounded out and mixed with a chacruna leaf, and when brewed up and when drank, you especially in the right form, the curandero or the shaman sings these icaros, which are just these songs that leads you through an experience. But what you're supposed to do is actually try and shut off the very left brain functions, the mind chatter that doesn't stop 24/7 that we have, and just try and just let things come, and just you know, let things happen to you and let things be revealed. And it's basically looking inwardly at the inner universe, things that really need healing. And I think that's very important, because a lot of ways people don't even realize that there's an inner universe. They're so enthralled with this ego, this external realm, that they forget that there even is a feminine principle within them. You know, they forget that there's an inner, you know, like this gets into the archetypes we were talking about. People don't even realize that there's, you know, there's these archetypes and these other forms of consciousness that they're worked on us from an inward level. And if you don't understand it whatsoever, how are you going to know that these things are actually affecting you?
Exactly. There you go. Even controlling you. You're, you know, a slave to these different energies that are, you know, within yourself. You know.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, I mean, that's probably, you know, the number one most important thing that I can say about all this. I think it was the Essenes, the ancient Essene culture. You know, they left teachings up to about 6,000 years ago, and I mean, some of their teachings were those relationships in our lives, like all the relationships in our lives, are nothing but mirrors to those parts of our souls that need healing the most. Now, you know, that has so much relevance today in a lot of things, like the book The Secret. You know, when you look at the book The Secret, it says that the law of attraction, we pull things in. Rhonda Byrne, you know, when she wrote that book, I'm not sure whether she was, you know, really aware of what she was doing in a lot of ways, though. But what I find kind of troubling about that book is she's talking about thinking about only the good and the positive side. And if you have a negative thought, let it go immediately. Never think of something negative, because it attracts bad and negative energy.
Well,
and it makes a little bit of sense. But I think the thing that I notice about that is what it did was it gave people a reason to think that, okay, well, if I think anything negative about myself or about anything else, it's going to attract the boogeyman. It's going to attract something bad.
No, I think that's actually in a way a very dangerous way to do it, because okay, it might kind of work for a while because of the consideration that you actually are experimenting with a spiritual element of yourself. In a way, you're exploring a new area, and it might work. But what I see is that the unconscious side of yourself is going to find some way to kind of sneak in there in a way that you can't prepare for. I mean, meaning that negativity is something that isn't. I mean, negativity isn't negative. it's a
right,
kind of an
exactly.
is an oxymoron saying that, but it's more like something dark or something horrible happening to you. There's no reason to put that in the negative bin, because you can actually attain very much positive things out of a tragedy or out of something horrible that happens to you, and to don't recognize that or not focus on that at all and just trying to suppress that. I think that's going to open up, a whole can of worms in the end, and you're going to be really kind of troubled.
Absolutely.
In the end, that's how I see it, at least.
Oh no, absolutely. Because I mean, if you think about it, Thomas More wrote a book called the Dark Night of the Soul, and the whole idea behind the Dark Night of the Soul is that you can learn, and you should learn from these dark periods in your life. They're natural,
right.
Like sadness, depression. Melancholy, anger, these are natural emotions. And, especially nowadays, we feel, we're pushed into this belief that we're supposed to walk around 24/7 with a smile on our face.
Right,
and if we don't, there's something clinically wrong with us.
Right.
But don't worry, because Big Pharma has the perfect cure for that. It's Prozac, and it's whatever, which basically just sedates both pleasure and pain.
Well, there you go. That's exactly right, and that's what the artificial system that is being applied above us. That's what that is telling us all the time. We can have all your troubles disappear. Just take this pill or pop that, or inject this or whatever. Whatever it might be. It's all these different kind of small things that is preventing. An individual from being an individual. This is about, forming that brick to shapen the big wall, and everyone is not an individual anymore. We're just, we're designed to fit into this model, another model of order or structure or whatever it might be. So I think, at least at this point, that, negativity, having, recognizing that there's a dark side in that sense to yourself, that you must allow yourself to feel down and feel bad and all of that, because it's very necessary to progress as a human being,
Oh, absolutely. It's taking an honest look at yourself. It's not negative. It's just taking an honest look at yourself. And B, the number one thing is sadness, depression. These things are actually, they're just as beautiful as happiness and giddiness and all those other emotions and love.
Right.
You can find beauty in them. I mean, look at art. I mean, art usually, especially in a lot of modern music and a lot of paintings and things, when you look at what the artist actually must have been feeling at the time, it comes from sadness. It comes from these darker emotions, these dark nights of the soul.
Yeah.
And it's very important to understand that, because there's just as much beauty. You could learn just as much from those things. And I think, back to The Secret. What The Secret, it makes you believe that, you can sit in front of a vision board and meditate for hours and hours on the car of your dreams, and then the next day it'll be sitting in your parking lot.
Yeah, and that's I haven't read the entire book, but at least I saw the follow-up DVD or whatever it was to The Secret. And one thing that really kind of bothers me about that whole thing is what it actually was a lot about the material gain. They kept mentioning that all the time. This isn't about this or that or whatever, but it was kind of always oriented around the big house or the fancy new car or whatever it was. And it's a big escape. That's how I see it.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think Rhonda Byrne, who wrote the book, I don't think she really intended any of that, but I think it was a very good marketing scheme, because all it did was it played off the very, vulnerable spots in our lives to think that, well, okay, this is a very spiritual way to say that, we can crave the car, we can crave the money, the girl next door, we can crave all these things, and it kind of pushes us away from, these are egotistical wants and needs. These are things that the ego wants. And, the number one thing I want to say about all this, especially The Secret, with all those, wise professionals and those doctors and people, even like Dr. Fred Allen Wolfe, amazingly intelligent and everything, but in that specific book, what they fail to tell you is that the unconscious mind has the true power of manifestation. Yeah. Because anyone who practices meditation, ask anyone who does yoga, anything like that, will tell you that the conscious mind is extremely difficult to still. For every hour that you sit in front of your vision board imagining your car, you may get 10 to 15 minutes of solid, focus on what you want. The rest of the time is filled with the girl next door that you're trying to sleep with, and how the car will improve your chances with her. Right, it's really, really hard to still your conscious mind, but your unconscious mind is never distracted. That's the number one thing you need to realize. Right. It's completely focused on the things that you need the most to heal. It is always focused on that. So you see, like the actual conscious mind is nothing but the ego that rules your world. And the ego doesn't really know what you need to heal. It only knows what it needs to perpetuate the ego. That's all the ego is. And your conscious mind, is linked with nature and is linked with absolutely everything. So of course it knows what you need to be fulfilled and healthy, both physically, spiritually, physiologically, psychologically. It knows what you need to heal perfectly, because it's a higher form of intelligence. And that's the number one most important thing to realize, because there's other forms, like Carl Jung mentioned interpreting your dreams. He was saying that your dreams actually is the only contact you have with your unconscious in a conscious way. Like when you wake up, you can remember your dreams, and when looked at very symbolically, it's screaming. It's screaming at you like, listen, these are the things that, you really need to it's a very symbolic way of understanding what's going on in the inner world, because the inner world, not saying that the feminine principle is more important than the masculine, because it absolutely isn't, but when it's been denied for so long, it absolutely needs that attention. And that's the number one thing, is in a day, the average person in day-to-day life from now, like in the day we have today, it's nobody's focusing on anything but the external world, because they forget that there's really anything going on within. Yeah. Because they don't like sitting and meditating and focusing, because it'll waste an hour or two of the time that they could be, out shopping or doing laundry or something, along those lines. Anything external. And then at the end of the day, when we just want to relax, what do? We sit in front of the TV. We hop online. We watch the news. We do anything to distract our minds from what's actually going on. Yeah. And it's not like the feminine side ceases to exist. We're still always being told and taught what to do on a very unconscious level. The more right-brained way. But the thing is, look, we have candy and soda and all these sweets and spices that overstimulates our taste buds. We have, rock music, all these, heavy, all these types of music that are like all people listen to is that they watch movies that tells them, how they're supposed to act in a situation, and they don't spend any time focusing on anything but, they focus on anything but themselves on an internal level.
Exactly.
And I think that's really why people are just screaming from the inside out, and they don't know why. They get into these, they think it's an endless cycle. Why do I always choose this type of a partner? Or why do I always get bad luck around this time of year? Why do these things happen? And they always, throw themselves a pity party, like the world is against them, like things are working against them. But what's really happening is they don't realize that they're being showed what they need to heal, and they don't look at it as a form of healing or teaching. They look at it as something negative that they need to get past and move past.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's always about that escape in some form, and even to recognize that these things are a teaching. I mean, it's for many people it's difficult for the reason that they've been denied